Think about that harmless little souvenir you just tossed in your suitcase. What if I told you that in 2025, it could cost you thousands of dollars, get your visa canceled, or even land you in a foreign jail? The days of just breezing through customs with a "what they don't know won't hurt 'em" attitude are completely over. International laws have gotten incredibly strict, and the enforcement is absolutely unforgiving. We're talking about things as simple as over-the-counter cold medicine in Japan, or even a handful of sand from an Italian beach, triggering insane penalties. It's all fun and games until it's your passport on the line. Today we're diving into the 16 biggest travel traps of 2025 and exactly how you can stay clear of them. Alright, let's kick things off with something tons of travelers do: buying knockoffs. So you're flying home from a fantastic trip, feeling pretty smug about that fake Gucci bag you snagged for 50 euros. What a steal, right? Wrong. The moment you land in France, customs officials pull you aside, confiscate the bag, and hit you with a massive fine. How massive? Well, you've probably heard horror stories about 300,000 euros fines. Let's be clear, that number is the maximum penalty, reserved for organized criminals importing fakes by the truckload. But that doesn't mean you're off the hook. For a tourist with a single fake bag, the fine is typically calculated based on the retail value of the authentic product. It can be up to twice the value of the genuine item. So, let's do the math. The real version of that Gucci bag costs 2,500 euros. That means your on-the-spot fine could be up to 5,000 euros, all for a 50 euro mistake. The bag is gone, and you're out thousands. And it's not just France. The penalties across Europe are getting extreme. Here's the real kicker: playing dumb doesn't work. The old, "oh, I had no idea it was fake," isn't a legal defense. Courts now expect you to be able to spot an obvious counterfeit, and they are not buying the Innocent Tourist Act. To make matters even crazier, major European airports are now rolling out AI detection systems that can spot a fake instantly. These scanners analyze stitching patterns, logo placement, and even the material composition faster and more accurately than any human ever could. Your bag gets flagged before you even get your passport out at the customs counter. So that silly knockoff you bought as a gag souvenir? It could trigger a legal nightmare. Ignorance isn't a shield anymore once you've crossed that border. Next up, your drone. You've probably seen those epic sweeping aerial shots in travel vlogs and thought, "I have to get one of those." So you pack your drone, excited for some incredible vacation photos. But when you get to customs, they start treating you like you're smuggling military-grade hardware. Suddenly, security officers are examining every component, grilling you about your intentions, and your innocent hobby has become a national security incident. This isn't an exaggeration, especially in countries like Egypt and India. They view tourist drones as potential threats, not as simple photography tools. This creates a legal minefield for travelers who just assume that because their drone is registered back home, they have a global license to fly. You really, really don't. In Egypt, for example, the permit process is a bureaucratic nightmare. You need approval from the Ministry of Defense, which means submitting detailed flight plans, technical specs, and solid proof of your legitimate purpose weeks before you even travel. The paperwork alone can cost hundreds of dollars, with absolutely no guarantee of approval. India is even stricter. They have a complete ban on foreign nationals operating drones. Period. No permits, no exceptions, no cool tourist shots for your Instagram. And here's the part that really trips people up. Even a properly registered drone from the US or Europe becomes illegal contraband the second it crosses certain borders. Your FAA registration means absolutely nothing in a country that classifies drones as dual-use technology, with potential military applications. The shocking reality here is that your little vacation drone can get you detained and interrogated in any country that's even slightly security conscious. They will assume you're a spy until you can somehow prove otherwise. This next one sounds like a joke, but I promise you, it's not. Taking a handful of sand from a beautiful beach could land you with a 3,000 euros fine and up to 6 years in prison. Yes, you heard that right. That little bottle of pretty pink sand is now treated as a serious crime. Destinations like Sardinia in Italy and parts of Hawaii are cracking down hard. They treat their sand, shells, and even pebbles as protected natural resources. From their perspective, you're not just taking a harmless memento, you're stealing a public asset. Italian authorities literally classify this as environmental damage, while Hawaiian officials see it as the destruction of their ecosystem. The romantic idea of collecting a few shells has turned into a legal nightmare. And here's how they catch you. Modern airport X-ray machines can easily detect sand in your luggage. Customs officers are actively looking for it because they know it's a common, yet illegal, souvenir. That innocent baggie of white sand shows up clear as day on the screen, and that's an instant trigger for a full inspection. The reason they're so aggressive about this is purely environmental. Popular beaches can lose tons of sand every single year just from tourist collection, which speeds up erosion and wrecks fragile ecosystems. Those pretty coral fragments you find? They contain living organisms that die the moment you take them from the water. It might seem like the most innocent souvenir imaginable, but in 2025 it's classified as an environmental crime. Okay, so you've just dropped $500 on a brand new smart suitcase. It's got GPS tracking, a built-in scale, USB charging ports, the works. You feel like a high-tech travel pro. Then you get to the airline check-in counter, and the agent tells you they can't accept your bag. Why? Because the battery can't be removed. Just like that, your expensive, fancy luggage is completely useless for air travel. This isn't just one picky airline. It's a universal, industry-wide safety rule now. If the battery in your smart luggage isn't removable, your bag doesn't fly. Period. It is not negotiable. Here's exactly how strict they are. For checked bags, the battery has to be taken out completely. For carry-on, it has to be powered off. Some airlines like Delta just want the battery out of the bag entirely, no matter where you're putting it. Gate agents have zero wiggle room on this rule. If your bag gets flagged, you're stuck. The reason is simple and terrifying: fire. Specifically, something called thermal runaway. The lithium batteries in these suitcases can overheat, catch fire, or even explode due to pressure and temperature changes in the cargo hold. An unchecked fire in the cargo hold at 30,000 feet is a nightmare scenario, so airlines have adopted a zero flexibility policy. That cutting-edge suitcase with a permanent battery? It's basically an expensive, flightless brick. Imagine this. You get stopped at customs and your own hard-earned money is seized. Not because it's illegal, but simply because you forgot to fill out a form. This is a very real scenario. If you're traveling with, say, $12,000 in cash for a business deal or a big purchase and you don't declare it, the government can seize the entire amount, not just the $2,000 over the limit. The US and many other countries do not play around with currency reporting. They can and will confiscate every last dollar for a simple failure to declare. It's not about taxes or even proving the money is legitimate. It's purely about paperwork compliance. The form you need is called FinCEN Form 105, and it's required for any amount over 10,000 US dollars. And that limit includes everything combined: cash, traveler's checks, money orders, you name it. They're also actively watching for something called structuring, which is when people try to get clever by splitting money across multiple people or trips to stay under the radar. They see it, and they penalize it heavily. This rule applies everywhere you cross a border: airports, seaports, and even international train stations. And they check people leaving the country just as carefully as they check people arriving. The harsh truth is that carrying your own legal money without the right paperwork can lead to you losing all of it, and potentially facing criminal charges on top. This is a huge one, so listen up. You could find yourself facing drug trafficking charges for bringing CBD gummies that are completely legal in your home state. This isn't some crazy mix-up. It's the dangerous reality of international travel now. What's sold as a harmless wellness product at home can literally destroy your life abroad. Countries like the United Arab Emirates have zero-tolerance policies and treat all CBD products as illegal narcotics. They don't make a distinction between recreational marijuana and a CBD oil that helps you sleep. Japan is another tricky one. They have a 1 part per million THC limit, which sounds technical, but it effectively makes almost all CBD products illegal, even the ones proudly marketed as THC-free. And that's the trap that catches so many people. Products sold as THC-free often contain tiny trace amounts of it. Manufacturing processes can leave microscopic residues that are totally fine in countries with looser rules, but will absolutely trigger a drug violation in stricter places. Independent lab tests constantly find THC in products that claim to have zero. To be safe, you'd need a lab certificate of analysis for your CBD product, but let's be real, who has that? You buy some gummies at a local shop. You're not thinking about getting molecular-level documentation for it. This is easily one of the worst legal-at-home, felony-abroad traps you can fall into. Here's a bitter irony for you. The pepper spray you carry for personal protection could land you in jail for weapons possession. The very tool you have to feel safe can become Exhibit A in a criminal case against you at an international border. What's considered legal self-defense in one country is an illegal weapon in another, and there's absolutely no middle ground for tourists. Officials in your destination country do not care what the laws are back home or what your intentions were. In the UK, for example, simply possessing pepper spray is a crime. If they find it, you're getting arrested for carrying a prohibited weapon. Germany has weirdly specific rules. They only allow sprays that are explicitly labeled for defense against animals. If it's designed for use on humans, it's illegal. Italy permits it, but they have strict limits on the chemical concentration levels. And it gets even more complicated because of airline rules. Some airlines might let you pack pepper spray in your checked baggage. Never carry on. But that doesn't help you if possessing it is a crime where you're landing. You can follow the airline rule perfectly and still end up getting arrested the moment you walk out of the airport. It's a legal maze where trying to protect yourself at home can get you prosecuted abroad. Picture this. You get arrested for drug possession. The drug in question? Sudafed. This isn't a hypothetical. It actually happens in Japan. Your go-to decongestant for a stuffy nose contains pseudoephedrine, a substance that Japanese authorities classify as a controlled narcotic. You need special government permits to bring it into the country. Many countries, especially in Asia, treat familiar medications like controlled substances. Things like Adderall, Vivance, and as we said, many common cold medicines can trigger immediate detention because they contain amphetamines or other chemicals that are banned. The paperwork to get around this is a nightmare. In Japan, you need something called a Yunyu Kakunin Sho certificate for certain medications. You need separate permissions for any opioid-based pain relievers, even with a prescription. And you're limited to a 90-day supply, maximum. You need the original prescription plus a detailed letter from your doctor. Saudi Arabia rolled out a new digital pre-clearance system in 2025. Now, you have to upload all your prescriptions, medical reports, and identity documents for approval before you even fly. If you miss that step, your medicine will be confiscated, and you could face criminal charges on arrival. The burden of proof is now 100% on you, the traveler. Your medicine is considered guilty until you can prove it's innocent with a mountain of government-approved paperwork. You're in the security line, and you watch in confusion as the officer pulls your power bank out of your bag and tells you it's confiscated. Meanwhile, other people with identical-looking devices are sailing right through. Your 20,000 milliamp-hour charger looks just like everyone else's, so what's the deal? The issue isn't the physical size, it's the capacity in watt-hours. And crucially, if the label with that rating is worn off, scratched, or just unreadable, they'll confiscate it on the spot. If they can't verify the capacity, they assume the worst. Here's the system airlines use. Anything under 100 watt-hours is generally fine for carry-on. Anything between 101 and 160 watt-hours requires you to get specific approval from the airline before you travel. And anything over 160 watt-hours is completely banned. No exceptions. To make things even more complex, as of April 2025, Hong Kong now bans the use of power banks during a flight. You can bring an approved one on board, but if you actually plug your phone into it while in the air, you could be fined. The key takeaway here is you absolutely have to know your device's exact watt-hour rating and make sure that label stays perfectly legible. A worn-out label is just as bad as an oversized battery. That apple you forgot about in your carry-on? In Australia, failing to declare it on your passenger card could get your visa cancelled on the spot. That little checkbox you might be tempted to just skip over is actually part of a binding legal document, and a lie on it can end your trip before it even begins. Australia has a zero-tolerance policy for a very good reason. They're protecting their unique, isolated ecosystems from foreign pests and diseases. Biosecurity isn't a suggestion. It's a dead serious part of their national security. A violation can trigger an immediate on-the-spot fine of up to 5,500 Australian dollars. And officers do not negotiate or accept "I forgot" as an excuse. Your signature on that card means you are legally responsible. The thing that trips most people up is that even processed and packaged foods can contain prohibited ingredients. That innocent-looking granola bar might have nuts from a restricted region. That beef jerky you love could carry a risk of foot and mouth disease. Dried fruits can harbor invisible fruit fly larvae. Biosecurity officers treat every undeclared food item as a potential ecological bomb, and they will not give you the benefit of the doubt. You buy a beautiful, intricately carved wooden bracelet from a street vendor. It seems like a perfect, authentic souvenir. Then you get to customs, and they tell you that you're facing up to 7 years in prison because that bracelet was made from an endangered rosewood tree. This is not some crazy, over-the-top scenario. It's the reality of international endangered species laws in 2025. These laws, often called CITES regulations, make it a serious international crime to transport items made from protected species. We're talking about things like ivory, rosewood, tortoiseshell, and certain types of coral. They all trigger incredibly harsh penalties. Countries now treat the trade of these items like drug trafficking because, in their eyes, it's part of the same global network of illegal trade. The UK, for instance, can impose unlimited fines and prison sentences of up to 7 years for possessing these products. Officers at the border are trained to assume you have criminal intent, no matter what story you tell them about the nice old man who sold it to you at the market. And here's the trap. Seemingly innocent little trinkets can be made from these protected materials. That small carved elephant figurine could contain real ivory. That pretty wooden bowl could be illegal rosewood. The only way to be safe is to have verified paperwork proving where the materials came from, and for a tourist, that's next to impossible. The sobering truth is that wildlife souvenirs carry some of the heaviest penalties in all of travel law. Imagine landing in Thailand, excited for your vacation, only to be immediately arrested because of the vape device in your pocket. Thai authorities have a complete ban on all vaping equipment. Bringing it into the country, possessing it, or using it can lead to serious criminal penalties that will instantly ruin your trip. International vaping laws are a complete mess of contradictions. A device that's perfectly legal almost everywhere else suddenly becomes contraband the moment you cross a specific border. There's no coordination between countries, leaving you to navigate a minefield of changing rules. As mentioned, Thailand enforces an absolute ban. Customs officers will confiscate the device and arrest you. Japan takes a different but equally tricky approach. Any vape juice containing nicotine requires a pharmaceutical license, which is impossible for a tourist to get. So, most standard vape juice is illegal there. But here's the ultimate trap. Airline safety rules require you to pack vape devices in your carry-on luggage because of the batteries. They can't go in checked bags, so the airline is forcing you to carry the device on your person, assuming it's legal where you're going. But the destination country might have criminalized that exact same device. Your act of complying with airline safety rules becomes the very evidence that gets you arrested at customs. It's a dangerous contradiction with you caught in the middle. A traveler gets arrested in London. His crime? Carrying a standard Leatherman multi-tool, something millions of people use for work every single day. The police don't care that he's a handyman or that he uses it for innocent tasks. They see a blade, and they see a crime. The UK has incredibly strict knife laws. In public, you cannot carry a knife with a locking blade, and that feature is standard on most quality multi-tools. The law makes no distinction between a criminal with a weapon and a camper with a practical tool. Your everyday gadget becomes illegal contraband the second you're in British territory. There's a very narrow exception for folding knives under 3 inches that don't have a locking mechanism, but almost every popular multi-tool from brands like Leatherman or Gerber fails that test. The locking blade, a feature designed for your safety to prevent the blade from closing on your hand, is ironically the very thing that makes it illegal. And if your gear has any kind of tactical branding, you're just asking for trouble. Anything with a black finish, military-style marketing, or an aggressive name like Tactical Pen or Military-Grade Multi-Tool screams weapon to a border security officer. The harsh lesson here is that an everyday tool can become an illegal weapon purely based on where you are, not how you plan to use it. You're in the security line, and your fancy rechargeable arc lighter gets confiscated, while the guy next to you with a cheap disposable Bic sails right through. It's confusing, right? Your high-tech gadget seems way safer and more controlled than an open flame, but that's not how aviation rules work. Lighter regulations are all about the power source and safety design, not just the type of flame. This creates a ton of confusion. Here's a quick breakdown. Torch lighters, the kind with a powerful blue jet flame, are completely banned from both carry-on and checked bags. They burn too hot and can ignite materials instantly. Arc and plasma lighters, the electronic, flameless ones, are only allowed in your carry-on, and only if they have a safety mechanism to prevent them from accidentally turning on, like a protective case. As for standard disposable lighters like a Bic, you can bring one per person in your carry-on. The issue with battery-powered lighters is that they are a dual threat. The lithium battery itself can overheat and catch fire, and the heating element can accidentally activate in your bag, creating an obvious fire risk. These high-tech lighters face double the scrutiny, as both an ignition device and a battery-powered electronic. This might be the most dangerous item on the entire list: spy cameras and other covert recording devices. An innocent-looking spy pen or a pair of camera glasses can instantly transform you from a tourist into a suspected foreign agent in the eyes of border security. In countries like China and Saudi Arabia, they treat this kind of equipment as automatic evidence of malicious intent. The burden of proof is immediately on you to prove you're not a spy. They do not care about your YouTube channel or your travel vlog plans when they find a device specifically designed for secret recording. In fact, updates in China in July 2024 gave state security police sweeping new powers to conduct warrantless searches of electronic devices, both at the border and anywhere inside the country. Your phone can be inspected without any reason given, and finding any kind of covert recording gear will trigger immediate detention and questioning about espionage. The design of these items is what damns you. A spy pen exists for one reason: to record secretly, without consent. In Saudi Arabia, their anti-cybercrime law makes any invasion of privacy with camera equipment a serious crime, with penalties of up to a year in prison and massive fines. Bringing one of these devices with you is one of the riskiest things you can do. Let's circle back to souvenirs for a moment, because this is so important it deserves its own warning. You might buy a wooden bracelet from a street vendor thinking it's an innocent souvenir. Then customs hits you with 7 years in prison because that wood came from an endangered rosewood tree. This isn't dramatic overreach. It's the reality of CITES regulations in 2025. CITES regulations make items from endangered wildlife serious international crimes. Ivory, rosewood, tortoiseshell, certain corals, they all trigger harsh penalties that destroy travel plans instantly. Countries treat these purchases like drug trafficking because they fuel illegal wildlife trade. The UK imposes unlimited fines and up to 7 years imprisonment for possessing protected species products. EU nations follow similar patterns with heavy sentences and confiscation policies. Officers assume criminal intent when they find these items regardless of your purchase story. Here's what catches travelers off guard. Seemingly innocent trinkets can contain protected materials. Your carved elephant figurine might contain real ivory. That beautiful wooden bowl could be illegal rosewood. Coral jewelry often comes from protected reef species. You need verified provenance and proper permits to avoid prosecution, which is nearly impossible for a typical tourist. The sobering reality is that wildlife-derived souvenirs carry some of the harshest penalties in international travel law. So here's the bottom line. Traveling in 2025 has fundamentally changed. The responsibility for knowing and following these complex rules falls 100% on you. Ignorance is no longer an excuse, and it offers zero protection against these new, stricter enforcement measures. Countries now operate on a guilty until proven innocent model, and the only thing that can prove your innocence is the right research and the right paperwork. So, before you even start packing, research the laws of your destination. Get your paperwork in order for any medications, electronics, or large sums of money. And if you have any doubt about an item at all, just leave it at home. Taking these simple steps can save you from thousands of dollars in fines and potentially from being arrested. The world is still out there to be explored, but the rules of the game have changed. In today's unforgiving system, knowledge is the best and only protection you have. Travel safe.